Everyone, how's it going? Hopefully you can hear me all right. Um, Hopefully the volume here is good and everything. Welcome to the stream. It's been a little while since I've streamed. It just was a busy the past couple weeks, and this stream's also a little bit later in the day than I normally do. But I figured it was good to get a stream out there, and I hope everyone's doing well. And we'll see how many people join for this one. It's pretty impromptu. Today I wanted to talk about. Some of the watch along series that I've done. So, on the channel, if you know or don't, I host watch alongs on my Discord and through Patreon and YouTube membership. And so we vote on a series. It was kind of started out as a monthly thing, and it's kind of every couple months type watch along. Is kind of the projects going on. I recently just made my first exclusive Patreon and YouTube membership video on Mob Psycho 100, which was a watch along that we did. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about some of the series that we've covered doing this. It's just kind of like a random collection of shows, and shows. A lot of them are really, really good, and so it'll be fun to kind of talk about them, rank the best ones we've seen so far, things like that. And so hopefully you guys enjoy this. If you have any random questions or things coming up, it's a pretty chill stream today. Just wanted to get a short stream out here to kind of get back in the flow of streaming after it's been a couple weeks of not streaming. Hopefully everyone saw my recent free run video that I released earlier this week that kind of talks about the direction of free run and kind of the visual language, and why that show just looks so good compared to other shows. It was a lot of fun making that video. A lot of like really, really like a lot of like hand done research where I'm like looking at an episode and I'm marking down the amount of shots in an episode and just like trying to really see why that series looks so good. And so that was really exciting to do. Next week is another Jujutsu Kaisen video. Higuruma is getting his episode next week for that series, so I definitely been wanting to make a video on that character forever, so that should come out either the day of the new episode or the day after, depending on how much anime footage I want to include in it. And so that's really exciting, and so look forward to that. And then it's been a while actually since I've made a Haikyuu video. I've kind of taken like a little bit of a break from talking about like Haikyuu in video essay form, and I've actually been rewatching season 1, and so I kind of want to do like a whole retrospective on the first season, kind of the storytelling, what's going on, what makes that season so good. Because when I first watched the show, season 1 I thought was good, but it didn't become my favorite series of all time till Nationals type stuff. And so it's been really fun to revisit the series, and just kind of like watching episodes just for fun right now is really cool, because like so many times when I revisit Haikyuu, it's like, okay, I've had this specific thought about a character or a scene or a match, so I'm just gonna like out of context go through it with notes and all this stuff, and like I need to make this video on it where like I'm just having fun watching it, and yeah, maybe making a few notes here or there, but a lot of it so far is just like rewatching it for the joy of it, which is pretty cool. So you can look forward to that, and then another Patreon YouTube member exclusive video will come probably the first week of March. So that's kind of video essay things coming up. Still have a short story that hopefully will be shared with you, and maybe I'll read on stream in the next couple weeks, that I'm pretty excited about. Fun science fiction story that's very like a blend of Neon Genesis Evangelion and Made in Abyss, I would say, is kind of like the comps there for the short story. So hopefully I'll be able to share that with y'all soon. Let me know if you have any questions or anything, and I'll pull up the tier list here. Just always using a tier list as the vehicle for talking about these series. And so scroll down here. These are the 9 series or I think 13 series. These are the series that we've done for the watch along. So it's almost been about 2 years of watch alongs. And so it's kind of come out to like every month and a half ish. We've watched a series, and for the most part, there's like a lot of really good series here. And so it'll be fun to talk about kind of why I was thinking about them for the watch along, how the watch along went, obviously how good the series is overall, and we'll throw them into a bit of a tier list. I'm going to remove the D tier because there just hasn't really been anything in that row that's like deserving of D. We haven't seen anything that bad, and all of this is going to be kind of in the context of the other series on here, not necessarily like this is 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, so on and so forth. And so yeah, it's not in order of when we watched them, so I can just kind of like generally discuss it. And again, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Any thoughts on the series. And another thing that I kind of want to do on the stream is if you have any recommendations for series that I should watch, or that maybe would be fun to do as a watch along, even if you're not a patron or member, throw them in the chat, and maybe something I'll look into. The next watch along is going to be probably starting in the next probably next week. And so I always, how watch along voting works is I usually have 3 or 4 series that I'm interested in watching, whether it's a rewatch or first time, and I just put them up for everyone in the Discord to vote on. They vote on it, and then we watch. So it's always good for me to have more ideas of shows. So starting out with Hellsing Ultimate, we had watched this for Halloween one year. It was kind of the horror show to watch. And I've actually never seen it before going into it. I mean, a lot of these I hadn't seen, only a few I had. And so Hellsing Ultimate, is probably one of the weaker actually series that we watched. Like, it has some really good fun vibes to it. Like, Hellsing Ultimate is like this classic moody, super violent series. There's like some sex in it and all this stuff. And it feels like when you're when I first came across the series and I was younger, it seemed like it was just like really pushing the boundary on violence and things like that, and kind of this like really risky series to be watching. And then when you watch it, I come to it when I'm a little bit older, and it's just like fine. It's actually like kind of boring sometimes, was a feeling I had. Like, and I think that kind of stems from some of the characters not being that memorable, even though the concept itself is amazing. Like, it's, vampires, hunting Nazis and things like that. Like, that's awesome. And that's really fun. And I feel like the series just unfortunately never really goes beyond like just fun. There's some awesome violent sequences. There's some really cool imagery, concepts great, but it just like never puts it together in a way that ends up being this like really satisfying experience, I would say. I've never seen, so this is my first, I maybe seen clips here or there from Hellsing, but never watched it before this. But I do know that this is like a remake. This is, and I don't know exactly what the difference is between this and the original, outside of like thinking that the pacing here is a little faster, which seems kind of crazy to me, or maybe like a little more better animation. So I don't know if any of y'all have you seen both of them, if you actually would recommend one over the other. But I think most people, from what I understood, recommend Ultimate as the better one. So that's kind of why I watched it, or why that was the one that was selected in the voting for the watch along. But it was a good, like, fun time to watch at in the fall. I think we watched it a couple years ago. But overall, I would say it's one of the weaker shows we've watched, which is kind of interesting because it does have like this legacy and lasting power in the anime community. But in general, for me, it just like it kind of lives off of its concept and kind of the idea of it, I think, more than it's able to execute any of those ideas with, like, anything that's super, super good. Which maybe isn't super uncommon for anime. Like, how many great anime horror shows are there? Like, there's not as many as you'd hope, I think. So yeah, Hellsing was kind of just kind of whatever. And for a series that I've been, aware of and thought about for a really long time and had always wanted to watch, it probably is one of the more disappointing shows on that we watched for the watch along, where it's like, I always thought maybe this would at least be a B or an A tier show, maybe not S, but for it to be C, in the context of these other shows, I thought was kind of disappointing. But speaking of a series that was the opposite of disappointing, is the Apothecary Diaries. And I'm going to put Apothecary Diaries, I think, in A. We'll try to keep S. Like, there's some really, really heavy hitters here. If you followed my other streams where I, like, gave my top 50 anime and manga, you might generally know some of these placements. But the Apothecary Diaries came up as one of, there's a handful of shows on here that were recently airing, or, we watched it. It was like, oh, I missed it last season. I'm going to throw it on here so we can watch it. And that was kind of exactly where the Apothecary Diaries came in. I think season 2 was just starting to air when we watched season 1. And I finally went on to finish season 2, and it's fantastic. But the Apothecary Diaries, right, is this like really fun kind of episodic, historical fiction story about, an apothecary's daughter who gets kidnapped and brought to the palace, and then ends up kind of finding work because she's so smart, and she ends up like solving mysteries is like the main thing, and she gets roped up in these kind of like bigger plots that are going on to challenge the emperor or challenge the high society that she lives in. And then beneath all of that is a really great romance between her and Jinchi that's like pretty slow burn, and honestly like only starts to really come about more past season 1, and still has like a long way to go. But it adds a lot of fun to the series, I think. So it can be really lighthearted, and then also have some like pretty dramatic situations that the characters find themselves in, which is really cool. And so the Apothecary Diaries, yeah, it's like one that I had heard about a lot from a lot of different people. It's just like one of the best anime, I think, of 2023 is kind of like where everyone had it. And so it was cool to put it in the watch along and watch it alongside a couple of other people who maybe missed it when it first came out or things like that. And so the Apothecary Diaries is really great if you're into like mystery shows, I think. Like it's just like really fun watching Mao Mao's the main character, watching her solve mysteries and having some slice of life, like what's it like, in this with the emperor and this kind of like really strict hierarchy that these characters find themselves in. Haikyuu is too good. It really is. Is it Random Dude XTCG? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. I agree. Haikyuu is amazing, and we'll talk a little more about it soon in this series. And yeah, it's been really fun to rewatch season 1 with just like not watching it for too many specific reasons, and just like having fun with it again has been really cool. Because I've been doing that recently, and might make a video on it after the fact, but just enjoying it for now. But yeah, Apothecary Diaries, fantastic. One of the best shows, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be as good as like its reputation. Like instantly when it came out, people were saying like, oh, Apothecary Diaries is just fantastic. But I was like, well, sometimes certain shows get really hyped up right away. And I said, but I think Apothecary Diaries like really matches the hype pretty easily. And it comes from like the complex plots that Mao Mao slowly uncovers, and how likable her and Jinchi and many of the cast are. Like, it's just, you love spending time with them, and then all these mysteries just make it so great. And so it was really fun talking, doing that for a watch along. Had a great time. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, I really wanted to rewatch it to make a video on it last year. And so it's definitely S tier, one of my favorite anime of all time. A couple of the rewatches are like gonna be up here. But it was cool to watch it, and get to put certain thoughts in, and there's certain sequences in that series, or, certain stretches of episodes that, you kind of give it a different lens when you watch it with a different group of people, or you're just like trying to think about, oh, let me, not, instead of just skipping to the next episode, let me think about what happened in this episode so I can share my thoughts in Discord about it. And to to not have seen the show, or to have seen the show so many times, and like I was so young when I first watched it. To kind of view in that lens, I feel like there's so much more that I found in the structuring of the series, and this kind of the two halves of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood story, which really, like, episode in the early 30s is like, totally kind of resets the narrative right before they go north to Briggs, and just like seeing how that story is put together is amazing. I mean, it's one of my favorites of all time for a reason, and it was really fun to watch it with everyone. And sometimes in the watch along, it's fun to put in a series there where you're like, I just like to rewatch that, like it's such a classic. And that it directly kind of led to me, a lot of these series I've made videos on. And in the future, I think a lot of them are going to probably be exclusive videos, at least exclusive for a while, or however it is, but it's really fun to kind of watch this new series and then just like make a more general video about it, and so Fullmetal Alchemist was really fun, and honestly, like, I kind of would like to make more Fullmetal Alchemist videos. Like, there's so much I could talk about with the series still, but it's it's always worrying to make a video when it's about a series that ended over 15 years ago now. So it's like, do I really want to just like only be making videos? Like, are people interested in that? I'm not totally sure, but I definitely feel like there's enough to say where, I tried to keep my video more general that I made last year, and it did pretty well for the channel, but it's like to get more specific, like I have with like Haikyuu or Jujutsu Kaisen, are kind of the two series mainly that I've really gotten to do like specific character analysis of, and like those do well. It's a little bit harder when you're talking about a series that's been out for so long, but also everyone's seen Full Metal. It's just like, is there still an appetite for it? Is there still new, like really new takes to be made on all of the characters? Like, I feel like I'm maybe 10 years late to that, unfortunately, but if some of my audience feels that they're interested, I definitely would be willing to. But Fullmetal Alchemist, just like one of the best anime. It does everything well when you talk about like its tone and how it manages difficult subjects, in the backstories, and how in the nuance of the characters. Is just, there's so much depth there, and then it's just like a joy to watch, and the plot, how it unfolds, there's surprises, characters, change alliances and everything, just has everything you could want out of a show. And it was fun to rewatch it. Run with the Wind is just definitely an S tier show for me, and has definitely been, I think it is the gem of the watch along so far for me. I had never seen Run with the Wind before it came out, before I watched it on the watch along. It came out in 2019, and I don't really know, I think it was kind of right before I had really gotten into sports anime, because I didn't watch Haikyuu till 2020, and that really was like, I'd seen a couple sports anime before that, but that really opened the floodgates for me being like really invested in the genre. And so Run with the Wind, like, I just missed it. And it's interesting that there's like YouTubers I followed at the time, and a lot of people I'm like friends with on social media who I now see after watching the show and like making a video on the show, see them sharing their love for Run with the Wind. And it's interesting that it's like, how did I miss that back in 2019? But this was a really early watch along that we did. Maybe it was the second or third show. It could even be the second, honestly. So it was very early, and it was kind of one of the shows that I was aware of. And so when I was starting the watch along, it was kind of like, oh, maybe Run with the Wind would be perfect. My audience loves sports anime. The series is short. It's kind of like everything's aligning for me to love this series. And it just like absolutely was way better than I could have imagined. Like, I did not think Run with the Wind going into it would be a top 10 anime of all time for me, and it certainly is. So Run with the Wind, follows the story of these, this ragtag team of college long distance runners, where there's actually only two people who've ever ran competitively before on the team, and then they get everyone else to get invested in running, and it's kind of this really cool. It's just like a really great show on why sports can be valuable even to those who aren't going professional, right? Like how you get value out of dedicating yourself to something and trying to do something, even though it doesn't give you monetary rewards, right? Like everything everyone wants us to do all the time always has to have the goal of you're making money off of it, or you're bettering yourself, or you're doing this. And it's like, sometimes you can just like give yourself to an activity that's difficult and not easy and still put in hours, and even though you're not going to make tons of money off of it, it's still gonna better you in a way. And that's what a lot of sports anime ends up being about, is kind of this like really positive hopium where it's like we could be better than we are and stuff. And Run with the Wind just does it amazing, and everything works on the 10 characters, the 10 main characters. Everything hinges on that, and it's done incredibly well, I think. Of course, like I think all of these characters are amazing, and it just was like one of those anime that just came out of nowhere, and is exactly why I love doing the watch along, is for a show like this, a seasonal show that maybe a handful of people watched, loved, but didn't quite reach the amount of popularity that it should, so I missed it, and then am able to come watch it with other people. Like this show is the pinnacle of why I still love doing the watch alongs, why it's so much fun to do. And Run with the Wind is just one of the best shows that we have done for the watch along. So I adore Run with the Wind. I think it's just one of the best things. One of the best things I've ever watched, and if you like Haikyuu and you haven't given it a watch, like please check out Run with the Wind. It is only 25 episodes. It is a relatively easy watch, and it is phenomenal. I mean, it's just so good. And yeah, this is exactly what the watch along is about, is finding these kinds of series. And one of the surprising things is I made a video on Run with the Wind, and it found a huge audience. It was a super successful video for me, in a way that I never thought it would be. It was definitely by far the most successful video I've done on any series that I had never covered before from the watch-alongs. And I think it speaks to that series and how underrated it is, but also how huge of an audience there is for it. And so it is, and how much people love it who have seen it. So definitely check out Run with the Wind. Run with the Wind is amazing. Probably never would have watched it without the watch along. Hey, Read with Jules, good to see you. Run with the Wind. It was a really great watch along. Shout out to you for always joining the watch alongs. Run with the Wind was amazing. So moving on to the next series, was Mob Psycho, the most recent watch along. And we only did the first season of Mob Psycho, so I've only seen 12 episodes so far. I'd probably put it in B in the context of these other shows. I just think there's a few more that are better than it on here, and it does seem like a little bit lower for me than Apothecary Diaries. But that's with, the caveat that I haven't seen seasons 2 and 3, which I just imagine improve on everything that Mob does well. And so Mob is the first video that or the first series I made an exclusive video on. And that video is really talking about emotions and kind of dealing with repressed emotions and how Mob tackles it in a really interesting way. So that was really, really fun to make a video on that. And I think Mob has I'm not a huge One Punch Man fan, and I talk about this in the video a little bit, and I did in the Discord when we started the watch along. But the places that One Punch Man like didn't work for me, specifically like in the first season, like I just like didn't love Saitama. I while the concept is funny, like I just like didn't get invested in the world building, and I also think it's a hype thing where I was expecting it to be the best show ever and it wasn't. But Mob has the same initial like really smart premise. There's like a lot of irony to every scene. It's really fun watching Mob and Reagan like talk and interact, and kind of anything they do is funny. But there is this like extra depth to the series that I think it really has with how it tackles emotion and how it tackles like the difficulties of dealing with your emotions in a coming of age story, and how easy it is to kind of view yourself as lesser than other people, and like not engage with the things that you might be good at. And that's what Mob's about. And I think Mob embeds that into the power structure in like a really cool way, with how his emotions works, and how we get the 100 in his name, which I thought was amazing. The animation in Mob Psycho is like some of the best so far on this list. Like it really does capture like what modern anime is good at doing, with these like crazy camera angles that like create such a sense of scope within certain sequences, and it's contrasted with the really muted and mundane character renderings, and so I think that works really, really well. I just feel like it needed, with only 12 episodes, it didn't quite dig in as deep as some of the other series on here that are of a similar length, but fully it could definitely reach like even higher down the road. And it was the series that I was watching when I put together my top 50 anime, or I had just like seen most of the episodes when I first started doing those streams, I mean, and so I didn't include it in the top 50, and it is something that is has got a chance to, is definitely probably like clawing for the top 50 anime manga for me. Can I react to an opening now? I've never done that before, so I don't even know if like I could get the software to work. But what opening for which show? But if I can't do it now, I would be down to do some reactions in the future. It would be fun to also react to like trailers for anime and stuff. But yeah, what show? The next series is another banger. It's Orb on the Movements of the Earth. It's probably borderline. I'm gonna put it at the top of A, but it probably deserves to be an S. I just want to see how many S we end up with. But Orb is another series that was right as soon as it finished airing, we ended up doing it for the watch along. Chase, is it Bata for JoJo? Is it? I've not heard of that show. You can do a try run now. I will, let me go through these, and then we'll maybe play around and see if I can get it up. And if I can't, maybe for next time I'll try to get it up, because I don't know like how it reactions work with copyright issues and all that stuff. But if you guys are all interested in me doing some reactions, I'd be happy to figure out exactly how to do it. I mean, I'm sure I can just like watch it and react, but I don't know if I'll be able to get it on screen with sound. But yeah, Orb on the Movements of the Earth is a really fantastic historical fiction show. Haikyuu soundtrack is so good as well. Oh my gosh, it's so good. And I feel like I didn't appreciate how good it was until I really started digging into the soundtrack for many of my videos, right? Because like you want to use the soundtrack from the specific series that you're talking about. I think it just adds so much to the atmosphere of every video. And Haikyuu soundtrack is amazing. Like there's so many tracks specifically, like a custom strength, and is it Python? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that exactly right, but it's the soundtrack that plays when Hinata makes his receive in season 4, and the Seagulls for Hoshiyumi's soundtrack. Like those 3 tracks specifically are just like some of my favorites. But yeah, Orb on the Movements of the Earth, it's a historical fiction that is kind of these like connecting stories about a group of people who are trying to prove the theory of heliocentrism correct. And it's a brutal story. It's very dark. It's by the same author who wrote 100 Meters. And that's really, really fantastic. And so yeah, Orb is a dark series, but also has like a lot of hope. I think throughout it, I think it's really, really relevant in terms of how we're processing information today, where you know the world is like filled with more conspiracy theorists ever, but they're never backed by like scientific methods and like the methods of actually proving things correct. It's all just like little thought experiments, and that like shapes your worldview. And so like watching a show about characters who aren't allowed, you know, and there are conspiracies that are, or you know, knowledge that is not real and not based in fact, and following these characters who really work to try and prove with science and like with backing and like putting in the research and work to like figure things out, is just like really inspiring, and probably I feel like a really important message for you know, today, as it's so easy to just like believe things like on the internet, or to just like make up something in your head and just like run with it. And so Orb is, I thought, a really brutal but really inspiring series at the same time. So I think it's amazing. The character work's amazing. The structure of the show, like the drama within every episode, is all just like top class. If you watched 100 Meters, you know, this is a lot darker, different pace, of course, but the same kind of storytelling quality going on. Man, you should really watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So I have seen all of JoJo's, and it's not my favorite series. I don't love parts 1 through 3. And I enjoy parts 4 through 6. And it's like, it's funny because it's like I have watched a lot of it. I've read a little bit of part 7, and I want to continue to read part 7 because that's everyone's favorite part. I think right now my favorite part is part 4. I was a little underwhelmed with part 6 after like pretty much enjoying parts 4 and 5. And I think the series really finds its stride at part 4. Like, I don't think the battles in part 3 are actually that good, but I do enjoy Stan's a lot more. Whatever the magic system is that drives the first 2 seasons. And part 2 is okay. Part 7 coming in March. Yeah, I'm really excited for that, and I do want to finish Steel Ball Run or read more of it, because I own a couple of the volumes of the manga now that it's been releasing in English. So I've bought, I think, the first 2 volumes of it and have read the first one. And so when JoJo's is working, and especially certain parts for me of part 4 and 5, it is fantastic. And so those parts, when I did my top 50 anime, I had it like just barely in the top 50, I think. But certain parts would be a little bit higher, but I just kind of like grouped it together to talk about it all as one, to kind of open more slots up on that list. But yeah, I really don't love the first 3 parts. Really enjoy parts 4 and 5. Part 6 is okay. And part 7 seems to be really good from what I've read, is kind of my JoJo's opinion. I did make a video on JoJo's part 6 when the first batch of episodes aired. And I was liking it then because I think I made a pretty positive video on it, but didn't get a lot of views. This was, a couple years ago, before I really had any consistent viewership anyways. Yes, Diamond and Breakable, Golden Wind are the best. Yeah, I agree. Like, I think it's really when everything, like the story really starts to click tonally, and the fights get more interesting, the characters are more interesting. It's not, it's kind of shaking off the era a little bit more that the first 3 parts, I mean, are kind of from. Even though there's a lot to, there's still elements of the first 3 parts where you're like, I see what's going there. I see why people really love it. And yeah, I'm excited for Steel Ball Run. I'm going to try to watch that weekly for sure. 100%. But yeah, Orb, fantastic series. Maybe I'll bump it up to S by the end of this. Sakamoto Days, we watched season 1. This was another one. I had always, when the manga first dropped, everyone loved it. I was like, oh, I really should read this. I read the first, couple chapters, and I was like, I'm just gonna wait for the anime. And I know a lot of people struggle with some of the animation maybe not being like as amazing as they wanted it to be. So I put it in B. Like, it was just like a really enjoyable comedy. When I finished the first 12 episodes, it was before the next batch or the next half of the season had released, and so I still haven't watched it yet. And in the moment, it was one of those where I'm like, oh, I totally just blazed through the rest of this. But now that it's been out for a while and I took a break, I haven't felt super compelled to come back to it. But just like one of those series that's, has a really funny concept. The animation's a little bit limited. I think that holds it back. It's probably why it's below Mob Psycho for me. They're both kind of a similar quality. Mob has a little more depth to it, I would say, which makes sense that it's above it. It's not pure strength, but like mind and stands. Yeah, I agree, and I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited for more JoJo's, and maybe by the end of part 7, that part will really, really work for me, and I'll be able to talk about JoJo's as like more of at least one part as like a legit favorite of mine, instead of always having to caveat it with like, oh, I don't necessarily love certain parts of the show. So I'm excited for it, and I hope it's released better than part 6 was, so we get community talk around it, because I kind of came to JoJo's after part 5 had aired, and I just know everyone loved watching weekly these shows, or things like that. And I don't know if Netflix is gonna do weekly or not. I don't, but hopefully they're doing it better than the batches were, because I feel like that's one of the coolest parts about JoJo's is the community talking about it, memeing it, doing all this stuff. And I was really looking forward to that with part 6, and then it just like really fell flat. Even though like the part itself is like pretty good. But yeah, Sakamoto Days is just a really fantastic comedy shonen. So if you're in the mood for something light, something chill, I would say Sakamoto Days is like a really good series to watch. It doesn't quite hit the levels that maybe it could, and maybe it will go on to. What a nice ranking. Thank you. We've got something pretty consistent here. And yeah, I think Sakamoto Days is really good. I don't know has anyone here seen the second, I can't remember if it's the second half of season 1 or season 2. But does the animation ever get better? Or is it pretty consistent? Which I don't think the animation's terrible, but it's just like, when you compare it to some of sequences in the manga, you're like, you are losing a lot that isn't gained through like really vivid or fluid animation. And so it's just like a fun, casual, like honestly, like view it as a slice of life type series. But Sakamoto Days was fun, and it's another one that I've had a really fun time watching these series after they air. I think it's just been really great. I think it's a pretty good formula to, sometimes I'm not able to keep up on every new series that I want to watch, and so kind of putting them in the voting for the watch-alongs is always really cool. And so next up we have Tower of God, and to complete the kind of perfect that we're getting here, I do think Tower of God was the weakest series we watched for the watch-along. And we did do the first 2 seasons, so this one was to catch up to season 2. And so I think by the time how the watch along worked is like we caught up in the middle of season 2 when it was airing. And it was a series that the reason I wanted to watch it was because of the score by Kevin Pankin, who does Made in Abyss. And, I'm sure a lot of you are aware of him. He's like one of the composers in anime that's pretty accessible to Westerners because of his relationship with the guys on Trash Taste. Certainly that's how I'm like super aware of him and like, all of this stuff. And the score is amazing for Tower of God, but I think the general show kind of falls flat. Like there's, talk about limited animation. Like I don't think the animation is very great. I don't think the direction of the series is great. Season 1 is like fine, and there is some moments of season 1 where you're like, I see why this became a really popular show. I totally understand what they're going for, and if they're able to stick the landing, then I'm all in. Do you watch One Piece? I totally do. Well, I guess I more read One Piece. I've watched large portions of the show, but yeah, big One Piece fan. I'm not quite caught up to the manga currently. I'm just at the beginning of the newest arc. I always take like 6 months off, things like that. So I'm a little past Egghead. But are you a big One Piece fan? It's actually funny when one of the first things I did on my channel, because my channel's like pretty old, like I've been making videos since like 2018, and one of the kind of iterations as I was kind of finding my style was I watched One Piece when I was younger and stopped at Skypiea, and then I kind of started rewatching the series in high school and then stopped again at Skypiea. And so with my partner, we decided to read One Piece, I think in like 2019. And so I'd been making videos for a year, and I did like this whole One Piece vlog. And so if you want to see some older videos with like me on camera and like doing stuff, like I don't know how they hold up. I haven't watched any of them, but I did like a lot of like videos of either, it kind of started out as like a vlog of like me reading a little bit, me doing all this stuff. And then while I'm out and about, I'm talking about the series. And then it kind of just became like reviews of every arc that like, like a booktuber would do nowadays, like kind of like Murphy style videos. And those videos, and then I made like video essays on certain characters and things like that. I haven't made a One Piece video since Wano concluded, which is now what I made it in the beginning of 2023, I think. So 3 years since I've made a One Piece video is actually like a bit concerning to me. Maybe I made one a little after that about One Piece's show. But is there anything on One Piece you guys would be interested in hearing about? Or, the one video I really want to do is actually I want to make a Katakuri video because he's one of my favorite characters, but it's like been so long since he's really been on screen. And it's so hard for One Piece to break into One Piece videos when you're not just like reading it for the first time, because there's so much depth of One Piece. There's so many creators who make only One Piece videos. That's all they do. So to come in with a new take or a depth of analysis that is appealing to the people who watch like dozens of One Piece videos and watch all of the One Piece YouTubers, and who are really interested in the little minutia world building. And honestly, I watch these videos too. It's hard to come at it, like I need to come at it from a really, really big picture kind of way. And so to make like a video here or there on the series is up in the air. But yeah, like if I made a character analysis again, it would be on Katakuri, I think. And so maybe I'd make a video on that. My favorite manga is Haikyuu, which probably isn't super surprising by what my channel is. But for a long time, it was actually Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, but then over the years, Haikyuu has overtaken it. So there was a little One Piece, kind of talk in the middle of talking about Tower of God. But I was really disappointed by season 2 of Tower of God. Maybe season 1 would have been above Hellsing Ultimate. Like there is some stuff there, especially, and the score is just so good that's chill. But season 2 with the time skip, how things change, I was just like so uninterested, and I thought it was so rough and just instantly lost me. And so because of that, yeah, Tower of God's probably the weakest show we've watched for the watch along, but it's one that again I've always wanted to watch, so it's good to know. Next up, we've got Chihayafuru. This is the Karuta sports anime. That's the poetry game. It's probably bottom of A. For the watch along, we only did the first season, and then we only I think I've watched half of season 2 on my own, and then just like got busy. And so, but Chihayafuru is just like a fantastic sports anime. has some like romance elements to it. It's just like was really, really great to watch. It was another one similar to Run with the Wind where I had heard about it for a long time and kind of had a good idea that I was going to love it. And so it definitely didn't disappoint. I'm excited to, sit down and finish the series probably in the next month or two and just like blaze through the next season and a half. But yeah, Chihayafuru has been really great. Ronan, hello, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. I know it's kind of a weird time that I'm streaming today, and also was like, all of a sudden this morning I was like, I need to stream. What am I doing? I haven't streamed in a couple weeks. So thanks for stopping by. Hope you're doing well. And why do you like Haikyuu that much? Yeah, I just think like it. I think from a writing and cast perspective, it's just like the best there is. I think the ending of Haikyuu really puts a lot of it in context, but it's just like the way each match is done, the characters, their arcs, how the story is so tightly connected, I think is like one of the reasons that it becomes a little bit higher. I think for me, the thing that separates it from the few series that like I don't really view as having any flaws, which is like Haikyuu, Fullmetal Alchemist, Vagabond, Hunter x Hunter, Attack on Titan, One Piece, like these series that I really love. I think the Haikyuu, it's how tight every character is, and so that definitely is why I think Haikyuu has kind of become number one, and it also has the fact that like without Haikyuu, my channel would have never taken off, and so that's been really, a really like, personal part of it, why I love it so much. Good. Sorry, I thought the stream was going to be earlier. No, like I'm just glad you're here at all. It was an impromptu thing that normally I do like to stream a bit earlier. More of my audience is like on YouTube early in the morning. And so, yeah, it was, just kind of like something I threw out there because I was like, I do really need to stream, and I want to be trying to stream every week, if not twice a week. I actually think next month we might get a couple of 2 streams a week as I start to read some manga on stream and do things like that. Like hopefully I think I finally got that worked out, so be on the lookout there. And I want to plan on, like, streaming has been such a fun side thing for me to like slowly start doing that. Now that I'm really enjoying doing it, I'm gonna hopefully share like schedules at the beginning of the week, so like it's a lot easier for everyone to like know what's going on with the streaming instead of them being like, hey, I'm randomly streaming today. Am I gonna cover Kuroko no Basket again? Definitely want to. I think I planned to cover it sooner than I have. I've kind of got backtracked or off track in the second half of this year, and so I really want to do a video on Kagami, Kuroko, and Almine's relationship. I think would be a really fun video to do. So maybe be on the lookout for that in the nearish future. I would really like to make a video on that. Hopefully you all saw I don't know if y'all have been watching Free Ren, although my new video, you actually don't, it is not really spoilers, but I did a visual analysis of Free Ren, and it's kind of a different video. Like there's a lot of like really specific, kind of like looking at like Free Ren shot by shot compared to Jujutsu Kaisen and Haikyuu was kind of the concept for the video. And the video hasn't done very well, which I'm a little surprised about. Like, I feel like the title and thumbnail are decent enough. So make sure you go give that video check it out if you haven't. It's kind of something different than I normally do in terms of like the content within the video, but I feel like it turned out pretty good. Yeah, nice. The vibe of Haikyuu is so good. Do you watch Hajime no Ippo? You might like it. Yes, it's one that's on the list. It's crazy that I haven't. It's like one of my biggest blind spots is like the sports anime guy, that I've missed it. But yeah, Chihayafuru, fantastic sports anime. Ping Pong the animation, I'm gonna put an S tier. This was another one. There's a couple of like big sports anime that I've like had missed that are like a little bit shorter, that we put down on here, and Ping Pong the animation is such a grounded, nuanced take on sports and on this like conversation of talent versus hard work. that and it's the style of Ping Pong is so unique, and the way it's edited, it's like really frantic. There's a lot of like crazy metaphors and imagery throughout Ping Pong. It's only 13 episodes, and it's just like a masterclass of a series. And so yeah, highly recommend Ping Pong the animation. I think it's just like amazing, and it was really fun to watch. You know, I mean, there's so many sports anime fans that are you know, following the channel, and that join watch-alongs and things like that. So Ping Pong the animation was one that I had a feeling we would get to, and I'm happy we got to it pretty early on. There's just like so much great stuff with that show. The first watch along that we did was Haikyuu season 4. I don't even think I did voting for this. I just like wanted to start the watch along with something really easy that I knew my fans might be interested in. We just did a rewatch of Haikyuu season 4. You know, Haikyuu, I have to put it number 1 here because it's the best. But it was a good way to start off these watch alongs of just like, hey, I know everyone loves Haikyuu here. Let's talk about it. Let's, you know, do those things. And so, yeah, I think it was a fantastic, Haikyuu season 4 is amazing. It was a great way to start off the watch along, and that into Run with the Wind was really just like the perfect start to the watch alongs, I think. And you know, I mean, you just can't go wrong with Haikyuu. And I don't know if anyone is still here from the beginning of the stream, but yeah, I have been rewatching season 1 of Haikyuu just for fun, and in the back of my mind, I have an idea for maybe a retrospective video that I'm gonna make on it, maybe in a couple weeks here, depending on when I finish the rewatch. But that's really good. It's on my list, Ping Pong the animation. I'm currently reading Ashita no Joe. It's so good. Oh, I've seen like a little bit of Ashita no Joe, and yeah, maybe reading it would be good. Honestly, that would be like a good read to do on the channel, maybe. And so yeah, that would be a lot of fun. I definitely want to read Ashita no Joe or watch it. It's such a iconic series. I guess like I haven't really jumped into a lot of the boxing anime, because clearly with Ashita no Joe and Hajime no Ippo, I've got some gaps. But yeah, Ping Pong, definitely check it out. It's a really quick one. And it's like, I feel like I had also put it off a little bit because of the animation style of just like, I felt like I needed to be ready when I watched it because it's kind of like demanding in a way, like in how things are cut. You got to kind of pay attention. Things are done very meticulously in that show, but all fantastic, and definitely some of the best stuff we've done on the watch along. This year so we had watched Hellsing Ultimate for you know, Halloween season a couple years ago, and then The Summer Hikaru Died was the one we did this year, which is another example of it had aired in the summer, and then I watched it as the kind of horror pick right after it finished airing. Hi, Josiah. Hello. Thank you for joining the stream. How are you doing? And I appreciate you stopping by. There's also Megalobox, if I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah, that's another one I need to watch, and would probably be a good one for a watch along. The Summer Hikaru Died is probably maybe the top of C. I mean, it's a good show, and it is better than these two. So yeah, I'm gonna put it up here. Honestly, it actually could be better than Sakamoto Days now that I'm really flipping it around. The Summer Hikaru Died has amazing production, and I think that's why I'm giving it the nod over Sakamoto Days. The Summer Hikaru Died is this like really, you know, like kind of off-putting, almost experimental horror anime, at least for, you know, the kind of like mainstream anime, as far as mainstream anime goes. You know, that has a really great concept and an amazing first episode specifically. I had just made a short about Haikyuu's first episode, and talk about a series with a good one. The Summer Hikaru Died is amazing. And and it has a really great like sound design, and there's a lot of the directional pieces that really match this show really, really well. And The Summer Hikaru Died is kind of this like interesting relationship between these two characters, and Hikaru, who disappears on a mountain and then comes back, a little bit different, and his relationship with his friend. And there's kind of some interesting subtext to the series, some romantic subtext going on between these two characters. And it really works really well, and I'm excited to see where the show goes from here. I have a question. I watched all of Haikyuu, but it was a couple years ago, and there was not the ending in the anime. Did it release yet? It is not. So I don't know if you watched. You probably watched season 4, would be my guess. Like if you watched this match that is Haikyuu versus, or Karasuno versus Inarizaki. So I don't know if you got to that point. It's possible if you watched it like before the pandemic that you haven't seen this season. But since then there was a movie that was released, which is the match after this one. And there's still going to be more released. So the year after, so yeah, the movie's next. I think it's on Crunchyroll now. Definitely worth a watch. The movie does, because they decided to adapt it as a movie, does cut out a decent chunk of some of the extra stuff that's in the manga for the next match. So I would also recommend going to read the manga. Even if you prefer anime over manga, or, just like prefer watching Haikyuu in anime because that's what you watched first, I would definitely recommend. Oh, you saw the movie? Okay, so the movie was the last thing. There's another movie coming out. That's the next match that comes out next year. My guess is it's probably early 2027 is when it will be out. And then there's also going to be some OVA episodes that focus on Fukuro Dani versus Mujin Izaka, which is a match on the other side of the bracket at Nationals. And then there should be more content after that, and probably at least one more movie after that. If you like manga, and I know you said you were reading Ishida no Joe, the manga is amazing, and the manga is at its best Nationals onward. Like Furodate really like becomes a master by the end of Haikyuu, and reading the final couple matches in the manga does hit. But this next match is a little bit shorter than the Nekoma match, and so it will work well as a movie, and they're not putting too much into it, thankfully. That was everyone's worry when it was first announced. But I definitely would recommend even going back and just reading the Nekoma Karasuno match. Not because like the movie's not bad, but it's just cuts out a lot, and it kind of reframes that match as kind of solely about Hinata and Kenma, and kind of makes Kenma the protagonist of that match almost, which works, and it's interesting. But there's so much other stuff for other characters that the manga just like cuts, or that the movie has to cut out. And so I definitely would recommend even doing that. And then if you don't want to, either you can just like blaze through it, it's all great. But if you want to wait for the anime, you still could just like read that match, get that extra context before the movie next year, would be my recommendation if you want to still watch some of it before. But yeah, the Summer Hikaru Died is really, really good. If you kind of want some horror, some really interesting visual direction, I would definitely recommend that. And then Aoashi, I had watched, I think it was the end of 2023, or sorry, the end of 2024. We watched the first season of Aoashi. Can't wait for season 2. It's a little bit lower on this list. I do think the first half of the first season's kind of whatever, and then we do get that twist, midway through Aoashi season 1, and it really gets quite a bit better after that, I think, and the kind of the purpose of the series comes into view. But I still think overall that Aoashi has a lot of greater heights to reach, and the animation is definitely really limited, and it's probably the worst animation out of everything that we've watched for the WatchAlongs, I would say. Like, it just feels really stiff a lot of the time. And even Tower of God and Sakamoto Days, I think, are a little bit better than it at times. But it does have amazing potential to fly up this list. Like, its kind of weaker start is in no way an indication on on if it's gonna pop off and be, like an all-time sports anime. It still has that potential. I'm leaving. Thank you. You're goated by. Thank you. Good to see you. Yeah, hopefully I see you in some more streams down the road. And it was fun chatting. And yeah, this stream's gonna be over with anyway soon, unless we got a lot of other questions coming in. But yeah, it's always good to talk to fans of the channel and things like that. So I appreciate you stopping by. And so yeah, Awashi, has some really good stuff going for it. Some of the wider cast feels a little bland when you compare it to other like heavy hitting sports anime and just like anime in general. But I'm really happy we watched Awashi. I think Awashi is fantastic. And like all four of those shows on B tier, it's like there's stuff I really like about them. Some of them that are going to go on to be a lot longer. I mean, they're all going to go on to be a little bit longer. And so it's like when you don't have the context of the rest of the story, it doesn't initially blow me away, kind of like Apothecary Diaries or Chihayafuru. That kind of makes sense for them in B tier. And then really the only two anime that were like kind of misses are Hellsing Ultimate and Tower of God, where it's like they still were fine. Like I enjoyed watching them. I'm glad I've seen them, but everything above it, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a really good experience watching it. And so, yeah, that's kind of it for these watch along rankings. I'm going to be hosting, the next watch along soon, or hosting voting for it. And so if you guys have any suggestions as we're kind of unwinding the stream right now, let me know if there's any suggestions for series that I should do for the watch along. Usually we stick to things that are a little bit shorter, or at least just do the first season. So 12 to 25 episode series are kind of like the bread and butter for the watch alongs. Anything above that gets really, really hard for me and other patrons to like keep up with it for multiple weeks on end. But yeah, if there's any series you think I should put into the voting for the watch along, always let me know. And if you're interested in joining them, there's whenever we start the next one, Patreon and YouTube membership, I have a free trial for them, so you're always welcome to do the free trial, see if you like hanging out in the Discord, or if you just want to talk for a couple weeks. And definitely, I appreciate all the support from everyone there. And of course you get, an extra video essay every month from that. How do you think the rest of JJK will be adapted? Like how many seasons? It's a great point. I wonder if they're going to do movies at some point. Like it seems to be so profitable, and I hope they don't, but I think they possibly could. I don't know. I think the Coling games will be finished they're going to do 12 or 13 episodes, take a break, do another for like 24, 25 episodes. And that should get most of the Coling games, I believe, should be done in just like a full season like that. My feeling is that the Shinjuku Showdown can be done in a similar fashion. But I could be wrong, and it could be that they instead want to do movies. That's like kind of they might do kind of what Demon Slayer is doing with Infinity Castle, where they're just gonna make like 2 or 3 movies for the final battle. I mean, like I definitely think they're gonna try to put Gojo versus Sukuna into a movie and into movie theaters. But yeah, I'm not fully sure my guess is it's going to be just like 4 seasons of 25 episodes ish. And I think that probably covers pretty much all that they need to do. But I think it's very possible we get movies. And maybe they'll be great. You can always hope. But I think, yeah, that's it for me and for this stream. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Again, be on the lookout. Usually I have at least 1 stream on the weekends. I definitely want to try to start doing like maybe 2 streams throughout the week. And so be on the lookout for in the community section, maybe posting some streaming schedules in the next couple weeks or so. And I also, if I am going to read a series, I'm probably going to do voting and host a poll for that. So be on the lookout for that. I appreciate y'all joining, especially for this like really impromptu kind of short stream. It was fun to just talk about the watch along series. We always are doing tier lists and things like that. If there's anything, if you guys are interested in like React streams, I could definitely look into that in the future. I'm always looking for ideas. Streaming is kind of new to me, but it's really fun to talk to y'all. So, bye, Ronan. Good to see you as always. Have a nice week. Thank you, you too. And yeah, we'll see everyone for the next stream. Be on the lookout for the Higuruma video later this week. I really hope that video does well views-wise, because I'm pretty excited about it, and I think that video is going to be really good. I'm pretty happy with where the script's at so far. So